Namaste. My name is Preity Upala, and I am a global thought leader and a multimedia personality. Welcome to my podcast, The Preity Experience. Join me as I explore some of the most fascinating and crucial issues that affect our world today. I take a unique global perspective on these issues, and the very foundation of my insights is humanity and spirituality. I'm Preity Upala, and welcome to the Preity Experience.
Meeting between military commanders of India and China is currently underway on the Chinese side of the line of control in a bid to diffuse tensions along the de facto border between the two neighbors. The Corps Commander level meeting is underway at Moldo on the Chinese side of the LAC near eastern Ladakh. And Chinese troops have been engaged in a tense standoff along the LAC, especially in a tense standoff in the eastern part of Ladakh, including the Pangong Lake, for days now. It's been months, actually. There hasn't been any way forward between both the sides. Indian and Chinese military commanders have met several times before and after soldiers of the two sides were engaged in a violent face-off on June 15th. Things took a turn for the worse. Well, China has been saying that they want to sort things out in a diplomatic way. They do not want an escalation, but at the same time, their words are perhaps not enough. It's just lip service that they have been paying. Whereas we want action. We'll talk about what is going to be the significance of these talks, or rather the reinitiation of these talks, from our experts. Joining me on the platform is Lieutenant General P.J. Sparnu, former Deputy Chief of the IDS. We're also joined by Vice Admiral Shekhar Sira, former Chief, Integrated Defense Staff for Western Naval Command. And last but not the least, Preity Upala, editor of The Observer. She's joining us from California, and she's a geopolitical analyst as well. Preity, welcome to the show. And Admiral Sira, the only thing that comes to my mind right now is that will this really make any difference now? We have had certain analogous situations in the past as well, where the Chinese on one hand have said that they want to talk, they want to diffuse tensions, they want to de-escalate. They've used all these fancy words, but they haven't made any fancy moves. They are still occupying the area which rightfully has been patrolled by India for more than 7 decades now. Is there going to be any way ahead this time around? And if there is going to be, what is going to be the reason for it? Has it been India's aggressive stance? We have, in fact, banned a lot of their applications. We have tied up with certain alliances from across the world to take on China on a number of fronts. Is that going to make any difference to China?
Well, as an optimist, Vineet, firstly, let me thank you for getting me on this program. As an optimist, I would say that there should be some movement in the talks. You said what all has happened. 3 things have happened since the last talk. One is, as you rightly said, that India has occupied some heights, good heights, where the advantage is now India, mostly in the southern bank of the Pangong Tso, and also in regions on the northern bank. Secondly, this is the first time that they are meeting after the firing was reported by actually both sides, to be honest. And thirdly, the two foreign ministers have met, and there has been a 5-point sort of understanding. And therefore, my sense is that, and having a joint secretary from MEA makes it little more nuanced, in the sense that the intention will be to keep it in a sort of broader framework of political parameters. And secondly, the not only in that particular position of the border that we are talking about, but it may just lead to the political sort of understanding of the border per se. Because what was happening all this while, that the Foreign Office was doing its own talk, military was doing its own talk, and it's a good thing that both are on the same platform. But regrettably, I'm not sure if the Chinese side is also represented by their Foreign Office, because the Major General Liu is quite he is the district commander of the Xinjiang military district. That doesn't put him very high in the pedestal, whereas our corps commanders are much higher in the pedestal. And Joint Secretary East is a very important sort of link between the armed forces and the the polity through the MEA. So as an optimist, I said that yes, I would see that I would like to see that it should happen, and I hope it happens. And first thing is disengagement. When we say disengagement, General Pannu will probably vouch for it. That people who are backing up the people in the front, the guys who are in the back end, unless they start moving,
Okay.
You cannot have moving front.
Okay. Well, we are also joined by Air Marshal P.K. Barbara, former Vice Chief of the Indian Air Force. So thank you for speaking with us. The talks are on. The foreign ministers met in Moscow on the sidelines of the SCO. 5-point agendas were reached, but at the same time, how do we look at this? Admiral Sinha says that there's optimism that has to be maintained, but at the same time, when it comes to China, will it be called optimism or wishful thinking?
Thank you very much for having me over, and along with my friends Pannu and all the grouping actually. Now, I'm happy that this is recommenced, although it's recommenced quite late after the 2 meetings that took place in Moscow. And we were kept, carrot dangling in front of us, meeting hoga, meeting nahi hoga. That is the Chinese way of doing it anyhow. It's nothing very strange. And let's hope that this meeting will just maintain status quo of what is there. Because I personally, having witnessed all this, and especially after my landing at Daulat Beg, and they didn't want to hold a single meeting, although they called for it, the Chinese are playing a tremendous game. And the earlier we realize it, it'll be better for all. They're just lulling us down. Yeah, they'll have a few chats, they'll have lunch, they'll have tea, and no decision will be taken. The decision is taken by China at the highest level. Let us please understand this. And not at the corps commander's level. Please understand. The earlier we analyze what is the final priority and the strategy, I think we will come to be a little better off rather than happy with a meeting here and a meeting. You think at the corps commander level they'll take any decision? I think it's controlled at the highest levels. So let's not fall into the trap, please. They are lulling everything, keeping it status quo while they're building up somewhere else maybe. And one of the doubts is Arunachal Pradesh, which till about a month back, as you are aware, you and the media, there was hardly any activity. Now, we as planners must think about it, analyze this. We were late in analyzing what happened in Ladakh. Let us not get caught in the trap again, please. Because there is no action on the ground. All the agreements we have signed with them, 18 plus, and the talks we've had post all this, the agreements on paper are as good as toilet paper. The others, I don't know those talks, you all are all aware, and so are our planners aware, that has produced nothing. And I'm sure our people know it, they are very intelligent people. But I have one point here to make. Now, we have involved this time, I understand, if I'm not wrong, or if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, that the diplomats have come into the game also during the talks. Anytime diplomacy comes into the talks, there is only talks and talks and talks. Has anyone seen any diplomatic move which has produced any results worthwhile? And in respect of the troops that are there, have they moved back? Have they moved forward? Or are they standing still? And what are the intentions? I am very sorry to say it, but I am sure Indian diplomats are very good and will produce some results. I am quite confident, but in general, it is only talk, talk, and talk. Nothing comes out on the ground. Please, I am not trying to say that they are not a service which is damn good, all right, but we want results. The nation wants results. Now, are we prepared in Arunachal in case the plans are such to keep us lulled out here? We must ask. Yes, I know very well, having served at the CNC of Eastern Air Command, I know a lot has happened there in the Northeast. And I'm very proud to say, both from the Army's point of view and from the Air Force point of view, we are very well prepared there, whatever be it. But I would like to say, we must, as a nation, understand that decisions are taken by the leader in China. There is things happening in Taiwan. You know the number of aircraft which have gone across the straits and come back. But that is ridiculous Air Force tactics. Huh? It is a show of power. Is he trying to get the pressure off there?
Right.
To put pressure here by taking a few more kilometers here, there? Or is he doing it because of taking back what we have taken in the last few weeks? Now, these are things that we need to talk and not just talk for the sake of talking, for goodness sake. They'll put us to sleep. As it is, they have started putting us to sleep by allowing music in the fronts. Now, who doesn't get lulled with music? It is a tactic that they. What have we done about our own propaganda? Like in India, all you news channels every day talk about what is happening. How many channels in China are showing what is happening? Nothing. How many print media is doing in India every day? And what is one print media of Global Times there playing up for their citizens to know? So the morale of the Chinese have not been affected till now. Have we done any propaganda to go across to say that so many people have been evacuated from this Ladakh area because of ill health? The impact of the environment. Yeah. Have we done it? When we know for certain...
I completely concur with what you're saying.
We know it for certain that so many have moved out.
Absolutely.
And have we somehow passed on the message to the Chinese and the young boys who are that they are serving there that you are also likely to be a victim? We haven't. We are publishing it in our medias, print and electronic. Oh, so many PLA people have been taken out from there. We have to impact on their morale. We are not doing it as a nation as yet. I'm sorry to say. We need to think about it.
Yeah, and in fact, let me get an opening remark from Preity as well as General Pannu on this. General Pannu, let me come to you first. This is a Chinese tactic. We shouldn't be falling for it. On one hand, we've been talking about how planned the Chinese have been, that they don't do anything without planning intricately and at a very granular level. And at the same time, we are ready to, in fact, understand that they want de-escalation. If they really wanted de-escalation, it would have happened by now. What's your assessment of the situation? And do you think that China is playing a double game, perhaps, which we have not even begun to understand at this point in time?
Thank you, Vineet. Expression double game, I do not know why we are using this expression little too late in the day. This is the beginning, and this is how it has been happening. We should have understood it long time back. Now that the 6th Co-Commanders meeting is happening, I actually would not like to call it a Co-Commanders meeting because it is not really a Co-Commanders meeting. It is a delegation from our side and a Major General from their side. I don't know whether it is even, sides meeting each other. What is different is that they're meeting at Moldo. The gateway to Moldo is now guarded by Indian troops. We have Gurung Hill and Magar Hill both on the flanks from where you enter Moldo. All over there are Indian troops sitting on the mountaintops looking down into Moldo and Spangur Gap. We take a much bigger delegation this time. As if we have gone there with something that we are going to do differently. And the Chinese, I do not know whether they have a larger delegation. They may be just about doing the same thing. They are supposed to be, as we have been talking about, on the back foot. We have taken a larger delegation as if we have more things to be spoken, maybe differently this time, as if we were not talking well earlier. And we need to talk about it differently, as if we are going to change something this time. So I'm not too sure why we have added one more delegate leader from the MEA, while it makes better sense that we have added the joint secretary from the MEA. Internally, it may suit our requirement. We can talk about that separately. But what is the signal that we are sending across is that while we are sitting on the hilltops, dominating them, we expecting them to be on a back foot. We take a larger delegation. As if with a larger delegation, we will look stronger. I think a weaker delegation, which would look stronger because we have soldiers all over. In fact, we could have actually brought it down to a major general level this time and said, listen, this is what we have been saying. We keep increasing our levels and they don't. There must be something that we can talk about that we want to achieve. However, having said the other side, I would say that the PLA officers are actually political officers. Their script is always dictated to them from Beijing. Maybe the MEA official will be able to understand that part better because military officer can only speak military language, and military language is more often than not spoken, but also matched with the action. The actions show how strong you are, which in a way, I'm not saying, we are at a better place of domination or not well, north of Pagong. So they have taken initiatives. They have, come into certain areas which we've been claiming ours. They have had larger domination. They have taken initiative. They have gone into certain areas and they haven't gone back. As a counter to that, we have gone down to a point that we feel that we have done something better. But talking wise, I do not know how we are going to match with what we claim we have achieved. If we were on a better plane to talk, we are showing more keenness to talk. Is it that I think we have to weigh pros and cons of how we are doing business this time, or how is it going to yield any result? I would also be, in a manner to say that would like to be optimistic. I hope something comes out of it since we are doing it differently. But between the PLA and the Indian Army, it is going to be a different strategy and different game being played. I don't think so the PLA is going to do exactly how we want them to do. I think they are going to communicate something very different in which they would ask us to back off first. Then we are going to get into a bind ourselves. That is what at the moment I need to talk about.
Absolutely. So Preity, being optimistic with China is perhaps expecting that they will admit their fault and they will back down. Now, historically, that has not been the disposition of China. It's an adamant expansionist power which does not even admit to the fact that it's responsible for throwing the world into this chaos, this nuisance we call COVID-19. You are sitting in Los Angeles. What has been the perception of what's going on between India and China? Obviously, the United States is also having its own drill, its own agenda against China, but the one that India is pursuing is very close up.
Well, thank you, Mr. Malhotra. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Well, interestingly enough, I find that this whole situation has put India in a very good, very sweet geopolitical sweet spot in a way. For once, I think the US is looking at India more than just somebody's shoulder at which to take aim at China with. I think they genuinely look at India as a geostrategic ally. And this current administration, I think, they're not just talking the talk. I think they're starting to walk the walk too. Look, with the elections coming up, the Trump campaign specifically is really upping the ante. They've made their entire election campaign on foreign policy, which is usually never the case. But I think the timing is so perfect in this case. So I think with Trump, he has made sure to single out China everywhere from the early days of calling it the Wuhan virus, which in some ways it's aptly named, considering it did come from there, to like this global shutdown that has come. And regardless of where it came from, they knew about it and they definitely were not transparent and they put a lid on it. And now the whole world is suffering, and nobody's really taking them holding them accountable. And I think Trump likes to see himself as the one to do that. So I think India finds a real ally, not just the South China Seas, because I think with the Quad and even just India and the US in the Indian Ocean, I just think this is the beginning of a brand new alliance. I think I've always said this is the most important strategic alliance of the next half century will be India and the US. I think post COVID, nobody wants to see a world that is run by China, and that actually bumps India up. I think the whole world is rooting for India. I think the general public here, they are angry enough about China. So they don't really follow international affairs too much. They're very insular in that way. They're very consumed with the elections. However, anybody who is taking China to task, in this case it would be India, they're completely backing it. So I think India has the support of the American people, of the American administration, the military. I just think it's time for India to step up. And also, this is nothing new. I see this whole standoff as a continuation of 1962. They just had a little break, and now the ugly head has been reared up again. I think we should have been more attentive and saw this coming. Having said that, I think they're taken aback a little bit by the assertiveness of the Indian military and also the Indian government. And they probably expected us to take this a little more lightly than we have. And as the cooler months step in, I think we actually have a big advantage. I think we're more equipped with these treacherous conditions. And considering the whole of Aksai Chin is technically Indian territory, this is really our backyard that they have encroached into. So I think as long as we keep firm, I think we're on the front foot here. And let's hope that the government keeps its foot down and keeps the pressure on China, because I think this is a rare situation where we might actually have an upper hand, and we've caught them dumbfounded. But we must not let the advantage go, because I think in geopolitical terms, these things very quickly can change. The power can change very quickly. So I think we need to keep at it.
Absolutely. And Admiral Sinha, the important point here would be, sir, that we read the situation for what it is. Let's stop looking at things in silos. Let's start looking at what China has been doing around the world as well. Talk about Mongolia, talk about Tajikistan, talk about Taiwan, talk about Hong Kong, talk about the other plans that China has shown in the last few months. If you put all of that together, it would be a surprise that China is in no mood to back down. And yet, would it be a good idea to continue diplomatic talks? I ask this question very often, and oftentimes I get the same response, that it is important to have diplomatic talks in juxtaposition to military talks as well. But so far, we are looking for a result. China is not looking for a result. Perhaps they are looking for procrastination.
Well, Vineet, I think all the panelists have very clearly mentioned that, we only hope that something good happens. But the representation from the Chinese side is not of the same level. And I mentioned that right in the beginning. And therefore, if the status quo being maintained from the Chinese side, the casualty is going to be more because of the weather. They have already started evacuation of number of their people from the Finger Four area, and Pagong So Lake is just about freezing now. So my sense is that the show must go on. The talk will go on. It must go on. This is probably India is trying to demonstrate that, look, I have had both political and military people together, but you are the guys who are not moving forward at all. And now we are in position of strength, as Preity rightly said, that we are from position of strength, and therefore we don't have to succumb to any of their lines that they draw. Now it is our line, and it is quite possible that we will draw our lines first, and tell them to disengage from so and so area. Otherwise, we are not moving. It will not happen that you move out first, and they can say what they like, because our delegation is much bigger. We are in a position of advantage, and I don't think our army is in any mood to vacate any of these areas, because it's such a difficult thing. I haven't heard this happening in right from 1962 till now. So this is a really big advantage, and China will continue to play this game. China, my sense is, now we will have to tell them, you back off, otherwise you had it. I have a sense that something like that in political words it will be given to them.
Absolutely. We just have a few minutes left on the show. In fact, quick concluding remarks from all our panelists, starting with Air Marshal Barbara. Sir, where do we go from here? We have a larger representation from our side to go and meet the Chinese. That obviously is indicative of the fact that we take this more seriously. Perhaps China is just biding its time. How should we tweak the status quo in our favor from here? Do we get more aggressive? Do we, in fact, do what China has been doing? We slap them, we hit them first?
Look, with all due apologies, my views might be different from the other panelists, so please, others don't mind. These are my personal. I'm not the planner. Planners are there in the field and the headquarters, etc., who are doing the military planning, and the politicians are there, the bureaucrats are there. They're doing their own planning. I'm just giving you the last 5-6 months in a nutshell, please. They lulled us for the last 5-6 months into their way of thinking. Although I must salute Indian Army and of course all participants of the three services for having contributed to the show of power from India's side, but please understand they have lulled us, and in this period of lull they have taken advantage. Although our army has done very well by taking over all the posts and moving into higher heights, I salute the army. But what about the thinking as a nation? Now, the last time, what happened? Why did we, when we had our Air Force ready, which leads a war actually, if you want, or a conflict, we could have led it. Their Air Force was not there anywhere. Our troops are moving in, but we were firstly having more acclimatized troops. Why didn't we take the initiative then? Now, it is very sad that we lost out on time. Now the same thing has happened. We have taken over some heights in the south of Pengongso, and these talks have started. Again we have been put into a period of lull. When are we look, when everything else fails, it is military diplomacy that comes in. Yes, you will say it will be a very costly affair. Very costly.
Okay.
But do you know, or we all know, that today, per day, it's costing us over 100 crore rupees to sustain whatever we have put there in Ladakh area and in the northeast, which is going to lead up to further cost escalation? Or is the nation's prestige going to be held? I don't know what words to use. I'm so sorry, but these are my personal feelings. Having served as a service officer, we are not using military diplomacy the way we should as a fourth largest army in the world, and Air Force fourth largest, whatever you got, Navy which is doing fantastic. We are not putting the pressure on the Chinese the way we should. Yes, there will be casualties, there will be loss of lives, but enough is enough. We are getting into that trap again and again and again. That's all I've got to say.
All right, sir. I appreciate your feelings, sir. I know that you've said that in a personal capacity. We completely understand. Just a couple of minutes left onto the show. General Pannu, quick concluding remarks from you, and then we wrap up with concluding remarks from Preity. Go ahead, sir.
Vineet, this meeting at Moldo is going to remain of theoretical interest today or even in times to come, for the simple reason it is a question of action on ground. It is not a question of talking and what gets decided there. One is that the Chinese would say something, and it is a matter of, as you've been saying right from the beginning, whether we need to trust them or not. So whatever, if they're saying it good, well, it is theoretical. If they're saying it bad, well, this is what they have been saying. What action have they taken in last 1 month? They have been enmassing troops on the borders, not only in the eastern Ladakh, but also in the northeast. While between the last Corps Commanders meeting and today's meeting, what has happened on ground? We've been reporting, their ground troops are moving opposite Arunachal Pradesh, opposite Debsang. There is development which is happening, and they are enmassing troops there also.
Okay, sir. Right.
They are also hiding certain areas from our surveillance, that is Gogra and Hot Spring, because that is purely a masking action. It means something is happening behind that. While they talk, we listen, but I don't think so. We need to believe, we need to prepare.
Okay, all right. Preity, just 30 seconds for you. Brevity is the soul. So let's be.
The show must definitely go on. Nobody's going to be backing down anytime soon. We have to be in it for the long haul. I suspect 6 months down the track, there will be another such clash and standoff. I just think that India needs to know that it's in a great position. It has the US by its side. It actually has the whole world backing it, and it has a lot of goodwill out there in the world. So we have good leadership. We have a more than capable military to get the task done. Don't lose sight of the target and just keep at it. We will get there in the end.
All right. Optimistic conclusion to our show here. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of it.